But hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Taylors of Tech live on Twitch. I'm still getting used to the new setup. Hit the wrong thing. Thank you all for joining. Sorry for that moment of darkness. I'm sure all of you were terrified and thought I had died. That will probably be true eventually. Baby Dogs, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 12 months. Holy cow, they made it to a full year. And DJ, also thank you for the Tier 2 subscription for 22 months. Holy crap. His streak is as old as I am. Yeah, in years. I don't think DJ is 22 months old. That would be impressive, though. You know, the moment he's born, just boom, Tier 2 subscription. And Chris Norton donated 1,000 bits. Have some love your moves. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I do that dance every single stream. It's not pre-recorded. And yes, I do change my clothes that quickly. For sure. We're the same age, I just realized. DJ and I are both 22. But appreciate the support. So I wanted to talk about a bad feeling I've been getting because as we're moving on with the world, you know, the pandemic's still here, but people are getting back to work, and we're hearing more and more about the iPhone 12. Here's the thing that's making me doubt the most important feature. My number one requested feature, if you guys have been watching for a while, to me, was 120 hertz. I know some of you don't think it's that big a deal. This doesn't make that big an impact to you, whatever. My reasoning for wanting the 12 Pro to have 120 hertz is that it needed to have something substantial over the 12 Max and the 12. And I felt like that would have been the best way to differentiate the two, because even on Apple's website right now, it says, like, what's pro about the iPhone 12 Pro? Well, you get pro cameras, you get a pro display, and get pro sizes. You know, you get two different size configurations. Now, the 12 and 12 Max have two sizes. The 12 and 12 Max will have OLED and thin bezels, 5G, A14 chip. If all the Pro iPhones have over the base models are just 10-bit color, I'm going to be disappointed. And now I'm getting this sad feeling deep down that's starting to seem more and more realistic that Apple is going to turn off and leave off 120 hertz on the 12 Pro, because we're hearing rumors or leaks claiming that the 12 Pro has the hardware for 120 hertz, but Apple is not satisfied with the performance. Because the more you look into it, the more difficult you actually will find out it is. OLED displays are not as good at doing variable refresh rates. Okay, so with the iPad Pro, that's an LCD display. I have right off camera here. I'll just take it, pull it off the keyboard case. When you have an LCD display, it's actually much, much easier to have variable refresh rate screens, which means that it doesn't just change between 120 and 60. It actually goes 24, 30, 60, 120. You know, it dynamically changes to all kinds of different resolutions instantaneously. Frame rates, not resolutions, sorry. And OLED, that's much harder to do. And in fact, it can impact the color accuracy of the display. You can even go down to 1 hertz refresh rate when not much is going on to preserve battery life. But with OLED, the display, I think it's LTPO, like the display switcher that we have on things like the Series 5 and the iPad Pro is not present with the current prototypes in the current builds of the iPhone 12. I think we could be too late into the game to not have it confirmed by now. I think you're right, Mersey, as well. Expos1 donated 100 bits. Only YouTubers will be upset about 120 hertz. Well, I'm a YouTuber, okay? Let me be upset for a second. I'm just exaggerating. But seriously, if I am a YouTuber by all technicality, then I have the right to be upset by your own logic. Thank you for the donation. And no, I don't also agree with that. I made a video about why the iPhone 12 Pro needs 120 hertz. And there were a lot of comments agreeing with me. I'm not exaggerating and just saying, you know, I'm the only one who cares about this, and I'm assuming everyone else cares about this. There were a lot of comments of people saying, if the 12 Pro doesn't have 120 hertz, I see no reason to get it over the 12 Max. The only reason you would spend the extra $250 on the Pro being telephoto and LiDAR? That's it? I don't think so. Scott says he can be upset over the port. You can be upset over the display. I'm still going to get it. I'm still going to do my best to find reasons to be grateful and excited for it. I'm always interested in seeing new designs, squared off edge approach. It'll have a fresh new look. The notch shrinking is something slightly noticeable to a techie. I also want the biggest display possible, so the fact that this will be the Pro Max at least will have the biggest display of an iPhone ever. I'm still grateful for that. I'm excited to try that out, a 6.7 inch iPhone. It may be a small change, but it's a change. And I feel annoyed that Androids like my little OnePlus 8 here, which I've been enjoying using, even though it's not the cool OnePlus 8 Pro with 120 hertz, even 90 hertz I appreciate looking at. It's pleasing to the eye. This is a $700 phone that came out in the first half of 2020, and the Pixel 4 had 90 hertz, which came out last year. S20 came out early 2020 and had 120 hertz. And the iPad, I've now gone through three generations of iPad Pro, all of which had 120 hertz. And I've asked every single year, not always expecting it, but this year more than others because Samsung is now manufacturing 120 hertz OLED panels, and we know they're using Samsung for the 12 Pro iPhones. I just figured if you're buying from Samsung, please, why not? Why not have 120 hertz? If all the other phones in the market are adopting it, if Apple's own devices have adopted it, and in the current builds at least, it sounds like they're not putting in that display switcher, the refresh rate switcher that we have in the Series 5, that we have in the iPads. And that's not going to be in the iPhones, and that's going to impact color, and for that reason, Apple's going to not allow it. And they're just going to leave it at 60 hertz, particularly even for a dumber reason. For a dumber reason that is probably true, that annoys me even more so. It's because Apple needs something to add next year. All we talk about when we hear about 2021 iPhone right now is portless. That's all we know. That's all we know is that there's no charge port on this one, but they're going to have some type of weird inductive smart connector, so you're still going to have to use a wire. So I don't know why you even want to remove it in the first place. It feels so smooth will no longer be a valid argument for the Apple Sheep Army. It will if you're counting iPad Pros. There's not a lot of tablets with 120 hertz displays still 3 years later. Yeah, I wouldn't say adding promotion is innovative. It's just an industry standard that I feel like the rest of the market is moving on with, and the fact that Apple will be charging $1,000 plus for iPhones that still have 60 hertz is a missed opportunity. And it's going to be because they want to implement it in the right way. They don't want to rush it so that they can adopt the LTPO refresh rate switchers that they have on the iPad and the Apple Watch. They want to bring that to the iPhone, and they're going to wait till next year to do that. So the next big selling feature for the 2021 iPhone will be 120 hertz, but there's no charge port. Cool. I won't care, obviously, because I don't use the charge port on my iPhone, so I don't mind if they remove it at all. But I still think it's a bad idea. I did a video on portless iPhones, and there's a distinct reason a lot of YouTubers struggle separating what they think will happen and what they think is a good idea and what they're okay with, and they kind of distort the two and make them one thing. And it's just frustrating. It's just the biggest thing I requested. If you go back and watch my video on what Apple needs to prioritize with the iPhone 12, I believe all we did was 120 hertz and USB-C. And I was already pretty bitter about USB-C, but I can get over it because I do everything wirelessly anyway. But if you can't even do 120 hertz right, that's just even more frustrating. TigeGeek97, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Yo, yo, yo. And Mersey says, I feel like some of those who don't care about 120 hertz might have never used it before. Well, we're talking about the Pro iPhones here. Yes, I understand. There are tons of people in the world who don't care about refresh rate and don't think it's that big of a deal. That's why the 12 and 12 Max exist. Okay, that's the iPhone for everyone. I'm not saying you need 120 hertz on the cheaper iPhones. I'm referring to the Pro iPhones, which are specifically made for the tech specs. They're intentionally designed and marketed as the phone with the better performance, with the better cameras, with the better batteries. That's the whole existence. It's not confirmed that they aren't doing 120 hertz, but I don't. Can I be frank with you guys for a second? I don't see the point in anyone leaking that they're thinking about doing 120 hertz. All the leaks we've got from 120 hertz are essentially useless. They are, all of them. Like the whole point of someone saying, well, the hardware can do 120 hertz, but they might turn it off via software. Essentially, you don't know. You could have phrased it as you don't know what's going to happen and we don't have any info on it, and we'd be left with the same thing. Because now we have leakers coming forward saying, yeah, it might happen, but it might not happen. Just don't say anything. Don't say confirmed. Don't put it in the thumbnail. Don't say, yes, it's happening. Like, if you would have just said, I don't know, we don't know if they're going to do it, we would have been with the exact same info. We would have been in the exact same place. Basically, they could not do it, and you'd be like, yeah, I told you they might not do it, or they could do it, and leakers could say, well, yeah, I said they would do it, and they had the hardware for it. So there's no way they can be wrong in that sense. And those are the kind of leaks that annoy me. They're like just vague enough that there's no way for them to be proven wrong, and there's also no clarification or excitement leading up to it. It's just worry. It's just more stressed. Let's see. What if they say that Apple glasses are exclusive with the 12 Pro? I don't think the 12 Pro is going to be announced this year. Even the people leaking the 12 Pro are saying that. Best case scenario, they announce it 2021. Worst case scenario, they don't announce it till 2022. That seems to be the leakers' consensus at this point. I've used 120 hertz on the iPad Pro in an Apple store before, but I've not used it daily. It is really smooth. They need to have 120 hertz to make it $250 more. I think that would be justifiable given how standard that is becoming in other smartphones these days. And for the record, can I say like 120 hertz in any capacity I'd be fine with? Like, I don't mind if they do what Samsung did and leave it off by default. And 120 hertz is like an accessibility setting. It'll be like a little toggle that says smooth motion, but there will be a little subtext to that switch that says using 120 hertz can impact color accuracy and battery life. I'd turn it on, don't care. Same way I turned it on the S20 Ultra, because the battery life is already so good in the Pro iPhones that, yeah, you can cut it by 30-40% and still get through the day. So I don't mind. If you want to turn it off for battery saving, that's fine. Leave it off. You can do that with the iPad as well. So I see no reason why they can't do the same thing with the iPhone, especially now that we know they're buying OLED panels from Samsung. Leakers are claiming the panels they're buying from Samsung can do 120 hertz. They just have their quality control with color accuracy crap, and that's annoying me. 120 hertz is an industry standard that everyone is adopting, and as Apple sheep, we should be pissed that Apple continuously will wait on features we want for years on end. We wanted 120 hertz on the iPhone 10. Well, I give them a little bit of a break for that. I didn't really expect it in the previous years. I wanted it, but I wasn't expecting it because OLED 120 hertz was not very feasible a year ago. It was very rare. In fact, I don't even think any device had it until 2019. I think it was end of 2018 / early 2019. But I think it was something like some gamer phone was able to achieve 120 hertz OLED. ROG phone, yeah, it was something like that. It wasn't a mainstream product, which is very different, by the way. A lot of people, I think, mix things up and they assume, well, if this tiny gamer phone is able to do it, why can't the iPhone do it? It's like, well, that tiny gamer phone, they only have to produce 100,000 of these things. Apple has to produce 80 million of these things. That's a little different. So that's how smaller phone companies can do certain things that bigger phone companies can't. Okay, so I think it was the end of 2018. So yeah, end of 2018, I was not anticipating the 10S or even the 11 to have 120 hertz OLED because not that many other flagships had it, and Apple is very rarely the first to something in the market. Whereas now, all of their competitors are adopting it, and they are bringing OLED panels, and they are bringing the display benefits that used to be Pro end features to the cheaper models. So it makes even more sense to give the Pros some type of advantage, give them some type of display leg up on the cheaper models. The ROG Phone 2, yeah. Thing is, if the pros don't have 120 hertz and all the leaks are correct, it would be almost suicide for the pro sales. I feel like even the pro users don't care about one extra lens and some higher color accuracy. OLED in the A14 would be enough. Apple must know, this is my guess, is they're probably trying super hard to implement it. If Apple watches these things, which I don't know, they probably don't, but I know they don't, but I was in an iPhone commercial once, so I consider it possible. I think if there is some type of color accuracy loss when turning on 120 hertz, or there's some type of battery drain when using 120 hertz and the battery life isn't as good, take my advice on the accessibility feature. Because the nerds that care about refresh rate will go into settings and turn it on, and the people who don't care about it will just leave it off. It's the best case scenario, like, okay, 120 hertz, we can physically do it, but it's not up to our standards. Okay, leave it off by default, let it be a settings option. You don't even have to talk about it on stage if you're not that proud of it, and you just want to appease to the nerds. Leave it off stage, don't bring it up, and just it'll be one of those things we read about. iPhone Pros actually support 120 hertz, you just have to turn it on, but it will compromise your color accuracy and your battery life. Something like that. I think they might go portless on iPhone 13 and USB-C on the 13 Pro. I think that would just annoy everybody, because now you can't... Ugh. There's so much... Like, iPhones weren't as popular when they removed the 30-pin connector. Like, the peak of iPhone sales was the iPhone 6, and that had already had Lightning for a while. We had already switched to Lightning when the 6 came out. And now every single phone since the 5 has had Lightning, and we've had so much more adoption of Lightning between CarPlay and third-party accessories and chargers, and just the insane amount of e-waste alone that will be caused by ditching Lightning is going to annoy the crap out of people. And the only reason I'm in favor of USB-C is that we already have accessories adopted to it. It's the only way, in my opinion, that you could move away from Lightning, as they have on the iPads, and, you know, and reduce e-waste, because there's so many USB-C accessories already. Like there's so many, there's consoles, there's iPads, there's MacBooks, there's Androids even, that are all adopting USB-C. So if you switched over to it, it wouldn't require that drastic of a readoption, whereas going portless, that is going to drastically change, like, all of the accessories, all of the compatibility, and it's just going to frustrate everyone. The masses don't have that many USB-C accessories. I don't think they have as many wireless charging accessories. I think it's more likely people have USB-C cables than wireless chargers everywhere. The charge port is a feature. It is. I mean, what people are describing about the 2021 iPhone is like if the iPhone 7 came out, except it didn't have any changes to the home button. There was no changes to battery life. There was no water resistance benefits. There was no stereo speakers. And all they did with the iPhone 7 was... And they didn't even add a telephoto lens or portrait mode. Imagine if the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus just had one camera on each of them, and they had no headphone jack and no changes to speakers, water resistance, or the home button. And that was it. It was just like A10 chip, no headphone jack, pretty much same camera. Maybe a slightly better camera. That's what people are describing the 2020 iPhone to be. It's like you're describing, like, well, there's ways, you know, they want to push wireless and they want to get everyone to wireless, but the bigger issue is, how are they going to convince people to buy it? There's not going to be some giant, great selling point that they have in 2021, unless, of course, they delay 120 hertz till next year and they decide, you know what, 60 hertz for 2020 is fine, we'll do 120 hertz next year, and that'll be the big selling point. No, I don't think they're going to remove the notch this, next year. I don't think the display technology or the Face ID technology is ready yet. So yeah, I bet it'll have a notch. Whatever the notch is on this year's iPhones, I imagine will be the same ones on next year's. They might shrink it or do something with it, but transparent OLED displays that can cover up camera sensors, they're not ready to be produced at scale or in a cost-effective manner. So I don't think that's going to happen in 2021. Yeah, the Oppo prototype phone had it. Right. It's very easy to make one of something. I'm sure there's prototypes of the iPhone that don't have a notch, but a prototype is very easy to make compared to 80 million of something. I don't think they'll remove the notch until we see Android phones that have transparent displays that can hide the camera sensor um, for years. Like you'll probably see it on some Oppo phone first, and then on a OnePlus phone, and then on a Samsung phone, and then another OnePlus phone, and then you'll see it on the iPhone. But you won't see it next year. I don't think it'll be that fast. Going USB C is more convenient than keeping Lightning around. Yes, I realize I'm not everyone. I think it is, but I know all the leakers and everyone is saying it's not going to happen. Yeah, I agree. I think the 12 design will be implemented for another 3 years. That seems to be the cycle they're going through right now. Every 3 years or so, kind of choosing a new design that they just kind of reiterate for a few years. Ugh. I love importing my phone every year and then illegally downloading a copy of the Play Store. Good for you, Lou. Enjoy that. What makes me mad is I know that Apple could do 120 hertz this year and do it better than the competition. They used to really push it and innovate, but it feels like nowadays they don't think they have to compete as hard. Remember the iPhone 2G time crunch story? Um, I do. I don't know if I agree that they used to push the market and now they don't. I still think they're pushing the market in different ways. The smartest bait and switch, like the important thing about the 12 Pros to remember is that this is for the nerds, this is for the tech specs. Like, I still stand by my points that uh, the iPhone 12 is going to dominate the market in an insane way. Like, they're going to do great. The 12 and the 12 Max, they're going to sell fantastic. I'm just annoyed as a techie nerd that cares about specs and cares about the refresh rate, that they're not going to do that for another year, and I have to put up with 60 hertz for another year. That annoys me. Um, yeah, I know. The S20 Ultra had 120 hertz, and the color accuracy was great, but it was also $1,400, so that might factor in. But and Samsung was the one making their own displays for that, so if they sell it to Apple, I bet it costs even more. Um, but what Apple is doing is smart, in my opinion. Not necessarily for the Pro iPhones. I just feel like similar to the iMac, there is a market for it. There's a demographic for it. It's not the majority. It's not most people, but that demographic is going to feel neglected and left out and uncared for. Whereas what Apple's doing, which they should be doing, I don't blame them for this, is they're focusing on the most common denominator. Apple is focusing on the customers that don't really care about the top of the line specs, and they're just focusing on everyday people, which is most of their market. That's where the money is to be made. Um, and with how they're rumored to price the 12 and 12 Max, that's going to sell great. Like those phones are going to be competitive. They're going to have 5G. They're going to have A14 chips. They're going to look different from last year's, which is going to make people want to upgrade. They're going to have great display panels. They're going to have solid biometrics and cater to the smaller phone demographic, which Android markets are ignoring. Um, they're going to do fantastic. 12 and 12 Max are going to sell wonderfully, and I'm not going to be shocked at all if they're the number one smartphone sold globally, just because of how fairly they're going to price them and how they're going to look and feel, and just they prioritized everything the average consumer should care about or will care about. Um, but the pro ends, like the iMac fans and the people who care about specs and refresh rates and stuff, they're going to feel very, very neglected, left out, and in return, that's going to make less people buy the Pro iPhones because currently there's already not great reasons to get the 11 Pro over the 11 because the iPhone 11 is already selling great versus the 11 Pro Max, which is the next best-selling iPhone, followed by 11 Pro, which is at the bottom. And that's when they have OLED advantages, and that's when they have camera advantages. This year, it sounds like they might just have camera advantages and no display advantages other than the 12 Pro Max, which I think will do okay. Definitely not as good as the 12 or 12 Max, but they'll do all right just because it's the biggest iPhone. But again, it's just going to make Apple say, oh, well, not that many people are buying the Pro iPhones, so we're not going to work that hard or we're not going to try that hard on making them better. We're just going to focus on the mass majority of users, I guess. An increased screen size and therefore battery size for the 12/12 Pro hints that Apple was at least planning to keep similar battery life even with 120 hertz. I hope you're right. I want it to be the case. I want it to be the case, but I agree. I think the 12 Pro is really redundant with the current leaks we're hearing. As tech enthusiasts, I'm pretty sure the majority of people will go all out and get the Pro Max. Apple should just make the Pro one size instead, in my opinion. There's one idea. For marketing simplicity, yeah, if they wanted to just get rid of the regular 12 Pro and just mean like, if you want the Pro, you got to get the big one. That would make sense to me. Lou, thank you for the Twitch Prime and for whipping a nay-nay. I don't think Apple needs an 8K camera. I think 8K cameras, even for tech enthusiasts, overkill, personally. Having used one. Even for the nerds out there, I think it's overkill. I think they could even ship 120 hertz on the regular large 12. It has an A14 in battery. Do you think BOE could supply any? If the 12 Max at 120 hertz it could compete with the OnePlus 8 Pro? I don't think they will, because the 12 Max is focusing on just appealing to most people, and 120 hertz hardware would cost more. And if the rumors are true that the 12 Max is going to be $750, I don't believe it would have 120 hertz. I don't think Apple cares enough about it to bring it to the cheaper iPhones because they just want to prioritize prices. What will 120 hertz do that 60 hertz can't accomplish? I consider myself a tech enthusiast, and I don't get why everyone says Apple is doomed. No one's saying Apple is doomed. We're just saying the 12 Pro is going to flop because it's already going to flop. Even with 120 hertz, it's not going to sell well. No, Apple's... I just went on my whole rant about why Apple's going to sell great. The 12 and 12 Max are going to dominate the market. But if they want to have a Pro iPhone that is $250 to $350 more than the base iPhones, the cheap ones for everybody, they need to have something that stands out. You know, why add 120 hertz to the iPad when 60 hertz gets the job done? It's because they wanted to move the market forward. They wanted to have advantages over other people. They wanted to go to new lengths and new directions so that the display was noticeably better. And I've fallen in love with 120 hertz. I didn't care about it before it wasn't on the iPad. But once I had it on my iPad, I was like, this is great. This looks fantastic. This looks wonderful. I want this on everything now. And the fact that we're going to go 3 years of iPhones still without having it, no, I'm guessing 12 Pro, the 6.1 inch 12 Pro. I don't think that'll be in the top 10 globally phones sold. Like I think that's going to, of all iPhones they've released in a long time, that one's going to do incredibly poorly relative to previous iPhones. I mean, yeah, there's worse performing smartphones on the market. Flop is relative. You know, if Apple shipped 4 million of an iPhone, that would be terrible. But if Google shipped 4 million of a Pixel, that would be pretty good. 8K is definitely overkill, but if they can do it while keeping the phone the same price, why not? That's the thing. I don't think they can, because the phones that can do 8K were absurdly expensive. So I doubt Apple would be able to pull it off, and I doubt most people would even utilize. Most people I know don't even want to do 4K at 60. Apple told MKBHD the reason the iPad Pro has 120 hertz and USB-C is because they're Pro features, so it gives with the Pro iPhones. Yeah, it's not consistent. I agree. It doesn't really make sense. I wouldn't count much on what Apple says about to Marquez, because Marquez asked them if the new iPad Pros had 6 gigs of RAM, and Apple didn't tell them. They were like, we want just people to use them. And once we did the Geekbench test, we realized, okay, they all have 6 gigs of RAM. Why couldn't they have just said yes to Marquez? I don't know. Why not? Do you think even number iOS versions will be about stability and the odd numbers be the big update? No. I don't think there's any... A lot of people try to grab some type of logic between even number upgrades and odd number. I don't think there's any consistency to go along with that. I think it's still, at the end of the day, just depending on what they can add to sway over Android users and improve previous generations. And iOS 13 was just more of a buggy release, probably because they were focused on adding a lot of aesthetic features, and that means you got to follow it up with a stability release. It just makes sense. But yeah, I agree. They're going to wait for LTPO displays in 2021. That's my guess. I think that's how they're going to handle it, and that's going to result in the 12 Pros doing incredibly poorly. Because with OLED coming to the cheaper iPhone 12s, there's going to be very little reason to go with a 12 Pro. Very little. How's the OnePlus 8 been so far, by the way, Drew? It's been good. I've been using it a little bit. I haven't like put my SIM in here or anything because it really doesn't matter. I'm not going outside. I'm at home all day. So there's really no point other than just annoying Nick and Randy because I would become the green bubble. So I still have internet everywhere I go with this thing. Um, so yeah, I mean it's light. I love the refresh rate on this thing. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh man, that looks so nice. It's so smooth. The screen is excellent. The battery life has been awesome. The the charge time is always very impressive with OnePlus phones. The cameras are pretty good as well. Little did a 4K 60 video on here, and I was impressed with it. It's surprising it doesn't have a telephoto lens because when you zoom in, it still looks very detailed. Bizarrely light. I know I already said that, but it's bizarre how light a phone of this size is. It doesn't feel right. Maybe just because I'm used to my Pro Max being so dang heavy, but um, yeah, I mean it's the macro camera's kind of stupid. It's very pixelated. I don't know why they want to do macro cameras at 2 megapixels. It's way too low. So yeah, it's solid. It's kind of boring. I mean, it's. I was thinking about doing an impressions video, but I realized I really don't even think I can get 2 videos out of this phone. I think I'll just do one. I'll just do the review and kind of talk about how it's redundant in the OnePlus lineup because a lot of people that this phone is meant for should probably just go with the 7T anyway. And it's kind of a good example that OnePlus makes too many phones a year. They're making too much. Um, they should just stick to one phone a year or maybe 2, not doing OnePlus 8, OnePlus 8 Pro, OnePlus 8T, OnePlus 8T Pro. Like, it's too much. Too much. Especially if they're 6 months apart. That just confuses everyone. Um, let's see. Do you think there will be a Pro feature that we don't know about yet? The best possible feature I could imagine the Pro iPhones might get that the 12 and 12 Max won't is some type of video bokeh that I'm hoping LiDAR will allow for. But even then, it sounds very gimmicky just because, you know, portrait mode and masking things out in video form can only work so well. I mean, portrait mode is already kind of picky. You know, if your subject is too close or too far away, portrait mode doesn't work. So I'm confused. I'm very confused how they're going to handle the video bokeh if they do end up doing that. Knowing how Apple has disappointed me in the past, I'm starting to wonder if LiDAR is not even going to do much for video, and LiDAR will just be a portrait mode photo enhancement. It's just like portrait mode is even better now, and you can do AR stuff. So LiDAR guys, use LiDAR. If that was the argument to go with the Pro iPhone, I'd just be like, oh, ugh. Oh god, don't ask me questions this way, but let's see. If the iPhones shipped with 120 hertz and a jailbreak could enable it, would you jailbreak? No, that's not a solution. Um, I'm not going to jailbreak ever. Just too much work, too much compromises for too little design tweaks. And I also don't think a jailbreak would enable 120 hertz. I don't think Apple would give that much software ability that you could just tweak it and turn it on. Similarly, you can't use a jailbreak to add bilateral wireless charging. It's probably something at the last minute that just pull the plug on and make it impossible. You can buy furniture and look at it with LiDAR. Wow! But yeah, that would be like if they found some way to make video bokeh really, really good and look like a DSLR. Look like this camera, for example, and it's thanks to the LiDAR sensor and the new camera system. But if they did something like that and it was just on the Pro iPhones because they have LiDAR, I'd be like, okay, I mean, it's a camera feature, but something. Just something. But that's not what it feels like right now. Right now it feels like they're just going to tell you that the telephoto lens is handy and LiDAR is good for AR demos. How are the IKEA AR demos on your OnePlus? Not as good as the LiDAR on the iPad, I bet. Roasted. I haven't even tried it on the OnePlus. But I will say, whenever I've seen demos of ARKit with the iPad Pro that has the LiDAR sensor, it's really good at masking things out. Like when you put your hand in front of it, or you step in front of it, or it goes behind a corner. It's bizarre. It's incredibly good, but it would make a whole lot more sense on AR glasses than it would a phone. I don't see that many people ever using it on a phone. even if there's more demos or more games. I still think most people wouldn't do it. But that technology being utilized for the glasses makes a whole lot of sense. Let's see. You can buy furniture. According to Prosser, one of the main features of the LiDAR sensor is to aid the glass team. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like 70% of the reason they added LiDAR was so that they could just help with AR glasses development. I guess, fine. If it doesn't cost any more, the iPad Pro is the same price as before, so why not? Just let them. The S Pen cured my wife's cancer and lifted my brother out of depression. I also heard it solved hunger and made peace in Israel. Wow, I want an S Pen now. That sounds awesome. I might not even watch this event this fall. Just read the website after. It's going to be the most boring update if there's literally nothing but a 0.3-inch screens. Oh, Scott, don't say that. Just because the Pro iPhones aren't that exciting doesn't mean the rest of the iPhone event won't be exciting. The 12 and 12 Max, I think, will be really solid. The new design will be cool. I'm curious to see how they handle the colors and the finishes. A14 chip, I'm excited to hear what kind of things they can enable with that chip design. And Face ID getting smaller, how they shrink the notch a little bit. No, I think bringing OLED to the whole line, it'll be an interesting event. I'll be sure. I'll be watching it, obviously, for my job. But at the same time, I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to see what comes out. But, yeah, I just feel like the pros are going to get kind of neglected compared to all the other flagships this year. Do you think sometime in the future Apple will make their flagship displays curved? I know that MKBHD hates curved displays. I'm guessing no, because, everyone kind of hates them. And we've had them on several phones, and all of the tech reviewers seem to be saying they kind of don't like it, and it's sort of annoying, and they wish they would stop doing that. So yeah, I don't think Apple will add curved displays just based on people saying they don't want them. It's that simple. I don't think anyone really ever wanted them. Samsung was just trying to find excuses to use their new display technology. They're like, OLED lets you wrap the display around the phone. And everyone was like, why? And Samsung went, I don't care. Here it is. Here, try it. It's so cool. And everyone was like, it's kind of annoying. Can you stop that? Let's see. AR can be useful depending on the use. It can be useful depending on the usage. In my case as an architect student, showing my 3D models in AR to my old-time professors is great. Yeah, there's some small use cases where it's helpful for sure. I hate that WWDC is at the end of the month, not the start. Yeah, me too. We're less than a month away, but it's going to be a long month leading up to it. What am I most excited for? I'm excited for a lot of things. Similar to when the iPhone SE came out, there was this tremendous sense of relief. There was this tremendous, because there were so many leaks and so many rumors leading up to the iPhone SE. We were like, I can't wait for this to be over with. I can't wait for this to be done because we keep hearing things about it. And I just want it to be done. I want it to be over. So there's so many things I want to be over when it comes to WWDC leaks. Like the over-ear headphones we've heard about for a long time. I want to see the design. I want to know the prices. I want to know the selling points and stuff like that. I'm excited for the AirTags, which we've literally had leaks and rumors for since feels like a year ago now. We've been hearing about AirTags. Those will finally be out and done with. Hopefully ARM Max. I guess that's what I'm probably most excited for, what they do with ARM version of Mac OS and how they unveil a new version of Mac hardware that's running custom-made CPUs. It's possible that won't be at DubDub and that might get canceled or scrubbed or pushed back, but that one I'd probably be most interested in, just to see how they treat a MacBook if they completely design it from the ground up all over again and they have control over the CPU and GPU and they don't have to add fans and that kind of thing. Over-ear headphones, kind of interested but not crazy, just because I don't think I'll be buying them. I already have 2 sets of AirPods and it's kind of redundant now. So I have no need for over-ear headphones. I don't know what they're going to have. If it's just an argument of they sound really good, I'm not going to buy them for that. I'll buy them to review and then return them, but that's about it. I didn't see much reliable iMac leaks. I saw a Twitter account that hasn't gotten anything right tweet about iMac leaks, but I just hate the image everyone keeps using for the iMac leaks. They keep showing it with the Pro stand. And I have no clue why everyone keeps thinking the iMac is going to have a Pro stand with it. It's like, do you want it to be $1,000? Is that what we're asking for? You want $1,000 more expensive iMac? Like, come on. What's funny is if you go back to your video on the last minute leaks for the September 2019 event, so much of that tech hasn't even come out yet. I know this is why I'm becoming much more negative and much more skeptical towards leaks, is because I've been wrong so many times in the past, and I've been reading so many news reports that don't end up happening, so I'm instantly skeptical of any news report now. That's where my pessimistic view on leaks has come from. We don't actually know the time of day of WWDC, but they did say there would be a keynote, so I expect it to be probably 10 a.m., June 22nd. I'm interested in the over-ears, but those will probably be more of a Christmas list item than something I buy immediately. Okay, that's fair. I don't think they will ever release an iPhone called iPhone 9, no. Um, we thought the iPhone 10R was going to be called the iPhone 9, and we were wrong. And then we thought the iPhone SE was going to be called iPhone 9, and we were wrong. So I think there's just some type of marketing reason they don't want to do 9, because we've had 10 and 11, and now we're probably going to have 12. So I don't want to. I don't think marketing wise it would be good for them to brand something as 9, because people would think of it as going backwards or something like that. So even if it was a budget model, even if it was a cheaper iPhone, I don't think they'll ever call something 9. My biggest wish for WWDC is for iPadOS to get better external display support and the Pro apps. That's probably up there too. Most excited things, ARM Macs and Pro apps for the iPad, which kind of go hand in hand. Because I've seen a lot of people in my comments or on Twitter saying like, "What if you're thinking of it all wrong, and there's no ARM MacBooks, and it's just going to be Mac OS on the iPad of some kind?" I don't think that's what it is. I think they like keeping them separate, and they want to keep the Mac lineup around and adopt them to ARM CPUs. I don't think the end goal is not to just get everyone to buy iPads. That's not what I think it is. But yeah, no one wants to go backward on naming. So yeah, Final Cut on the iPad I'm curious about, mostly from compatibility standpoint, because I know Final Cut on the Mac, requires a certain amount of CPU performance, certain amount of RAM, and the iPads have way less, depending on which iPad you get, they have way less CPU performance and way less RAM. So how they're going to optimize Final Cut and Logic for devices with much less hardware to work with, maybe that'll be part of the advantage of going to ARM, but I'm curious to see how they're scaled down, because the leaks that say the Pro apps are coming to the iPad are saying like they're not going to be 100% what they are on the Mac, so they might be scaled down a little bit. So I'm curious to see what they scale down on, what they don't get, and what iPads they're compatible with, because I still have this hunch, I still have this belief that Apple is going to require the iPad Pro or better in order for Pro apps to work. Like they're going to say it requires an A12X chip or better. But I don't know. The thing I'm most excited for at WWDC is AirTags. Yeah, I know that's strange. Don't judge me. I don't know. Like, I'm excited to see them because it's one of the few leaks it's one of the few things we know for sure is happening. I very rarely use the words confirmed, right? I only use the words confirmed if it's a leak from Apple. So when it was leaked, when they had that screen protector thing on the Apple Store site that said works with iPhone 7, 8, and SE, when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's confirmed. We know the name now. So that's something I'll use confirmed for. And there was an Apple support video that said AirTags when setting up AirTags, and that was from Apple. So I go, okay, the name for AirTags, their existence has been confirmed. I'll never say confirmed just because a leaker said something that sounded right. I'll say it's likely, I'll say it's rumored, and this leaker has a good track record, but I will not say confirmed until it's from Apple. AirTags are confirmed, and we still have no idea what they look like or how much they cost or really how they work. So I'm excited to hear about them, and I think that'll be an interesting product, but I can't see myself using it. Probably because of how much quarantine I've been in for the past few months. We just don't go out that much, and I don't lose things that often. I have very specific places for all of my devices, like most of my AirPods and my phone and my iPad. They kind of stay on my desk. I don't go to school. I don't go out to work. I don't, go on public transit or anything that often. Do code leaks count as confirmed? That gets messy. Because a lot of the time it's a leaker who's reporting on the software code. The reason I consider AirTags to be confirmed is because it was listed in the support video and then they took it down. So that, that's kind of them admitting guilt at that point. But there's a lot of things that 9 to 5 Mac or Mac Rumors will report on that's in iOS 14 code, but only they have that version of iOS 14 and no one else does. So in that sense, it's not really from Apple. It's like, well, it's in the code, but you're hearing it from us, so it's kind of messy when they do that. Cooper Bomb 112004. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 14 months. That's a lot of commitment. Thank you. We know everything the Series 6 Apple Watch will have already. We don't. I don't think we do, honestly. I think there might be some tricks up their sleeve. Similar to, we thought we knew everything about the Series 5, and there was not much. We were like, Series 5 might have some more health features, might have sleep tracking. That's about it. And then it came out, and it was like, always on display. We were like, oh, I wasn't thinking of that. And then it did. So we were like, all right. AirPower is confirmed canceled, yes, because that's from Apple. Apple has confirmed that AirPower is not happening, yeah. How accurate is Apple's own track record? Can I get an AirTag implanted in myself so I don't get lost? Yeah, I'd say probably. Apple won't endorse it, but you can make it happen. What about HomePod Mini, or maybe the branding will be different? Yeah. So, I was just thinking about the HomePod Mini today. Sounds like the HomePod Mini, from what I've heard about it, is going to be exactly very, very basic. It's a necessary product, but not special or out of the ordinary anyway. Like, the latest leak I heard for the HomePod Mini is it's literally going to look like the HomePod, but be about half the size. No changes. Still got the Siri, still got the volume, still got the glass panel on the top. Maybe it has an A10 chip instead of an A8 chip, and that's it. And it doesn't get as loud as our current HomePods, but it's like $200 or less. That's it. So not that exciting of a product. But the reason I was thinking about the HomePod Mini was, yes, I am a YouTube Premium subscriber, and if you're in the US, you can get a free Google Home Mini if you have YouTube Premium, sort of like the Spotify deal. And I was like, hey, cool, I can get a free Home Mini. I have 2 of them. I don't use one of them. We have one in the bathroom, and that's it. And I was like, hey, look at that, free Home Mini, whatever. So I just hit redeem, boom, I'm getting another one now. It's a Nest Mini now. And I got the blue one just because that's the only one I don't have. And I was like, Apple Music needs something like this. I don't exactly know how they would do it because Apple doesn't have a smart speaker that's like $50 or less. Yeah, it's going to be a great doorstop. I don't know what we're going to do with it. I'll put it in the closet or something. That'll be my closet speaker. But the truth is, we're overbooked when it comes to smart speakers. Okay, we got a Google Home Max in the kitchen. I've got 2 HomePods in my office, which I'm not using anymore because my wife is home and taking phone calls for her job, working from home. So I can't blare the music like I used to when I was home alone. But sounds like she might be going back to her actual work at the end of this year. So I'm not never going to use them. But we also have a HomePod in the living room. So a HomePod Mini, I'm with you. It should exist. It needs to exist. But I will not have a use for one. So I don't even know if I would buy it to review just because of how boring it would be. And how little there would be to say about it. I think that everything there is to say about the HomePod Mini could be said in a video without buying one. Apple Music is compatible with Echo devices. Yeah, I think it would be cool, though, if, like, Apple Music subscribers got something. Like, maybe not free HomePod. That would be crazy. Or free AirPods. But maybe a discount. Like, if you have Apple Music, AirPods become $80. Something like that. I don't know. I feel like you're saving money in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe if they really, really go cheap with the HomePod Mini, they're like, okay, if you buy it new, it's $130, and if you have Apple Music, the HomePod is like $50, $60. Some kind of bundle, some kind of discount, I think, would be appreciated. Knowing Apple, it's probably more likely that they'll be like, if you buy the HomePod Mini, you get a year of Apple Music for free. And the HomePod Mini is going to cost like $200 or something. So you'll still have to spend a lot, but you'll still get some kind of bundle. They need something like that, though. I like when streaming services offer you free accessories of some kind. HomePod SE. There you go. Some kind of cheap, low-end HomePod. Um, let's see. Sell it. You cannot sell smart speakers very well. Trust me. Like, especially the Google Home Mini. I've looked around on how much they go for. You'll be lucky to get like $10 or $15 for a Google Home Mini or something. People are not willing to pay much for those things. If they know that they can sign up for YouTube Premium and get a free one, they're gonna rather just do that because YouTube Premium is what, like 15 or $12 a month. Do you think Apple will cancel Apple TV? No. Apple's committed to the long haul with TV Plus because they're betting on services big time. I don't think TV Plus is going to turn a profit for a long time, but they're gonna be pushing it hard. They're gonna keep paying for original programming. They're gonna keep advertising it, and they're gonna easily at least commit to like 5 or 6 years worth of content before they start deciding if it's not worth it or not. Because streaming services need longevity and they need a back catalog in order to be proven successful. So that's why they were okay with giving away TV Plus free for a year. They wouldn't do that if they were expecting to turn a profit very quickly. So the fact that they're willing to let people have TV Plus free for a year shows to me that they're playing the long, long game with TV Plus. So, yeah, I heard they're interested in buying a back catalog of content, but I think Apple producing so much of their own original content, they're counting on a few of those original shows being hits and being really popular and not being able to lose them because they own the rights to them, so they can't lose them to other services. Like Netflix is losing a lot of their shows because they bought up a huge back catalog and they have The Office and Parks and Rec, but they're going to start losing those. So that's why Netflix is burning all their cash on original programming. Apple's just skipping the back catalog part and going straight to the original programming, which will result in a very soft launch, not that popular from the beginning, but I think they're hoping it'll get popular over time. But they haven't won me over. I'm not interested. I'm not paying for it. I haven't watched TV Plus in months. So my guess is they're going to get enough Emmy nominations and Golden Globe nominations, and they're going to get enough good press from TV Plus. And in the grand scheme of Apple's revenues, the original programming is chump change to them. It's not that expensive. So I think TV Plus will be here 10 years from now, easily. TV Plus needs a hit show that people actually talk about outside of tech crowds. Well, from what I've heard, a lot of people are talking about The Morning Show. Apparently that was a hit. I didn't care about it. I tried to watch it and I just couldn't get interested in it. But from what I've seen online, there were enough people interested in that. I've seen a lot of people interested in, what is it called? Mythical Quest. I haven't watched any of that, but no, nothing TV Plus has done so far has won me over. I don't have any thoughts on HBO Max. I don't know any show on there, and I don't have interest in any show on there. So, yeah, I keep hearing people say certain shows on TV Plus are nice. I just don't know if people are going to keep paying monthly for it. I watched The Servant and a few episodes of The Morning Show and The Elephant Queen, and I'm not sold on it. None of the shows look that interesting. My mother bought TV Plus for The Morning Show. Oh my God. See, that's what I'm talking about. Someone will do it. That's how Disney was successful with Disney Plus. Well, Disney owns so much crap, though. That's the thing. Though I gotta be honest with you, I have not been using Disney Plus that much. Honestly, like, it has a lot of movies and titles on it, but not a lot of binge-worthy stuff. It has just kind of a lot of stuff you watch when it's a big event, like Mandalorian, obviously. I watched all those, but not much else. Not much else of the original programming. Exactly. Subscription services are genius because people will be tricked into keep paying for them, and they won't remember to cancel them. That's how they make so much money. Disney Plus isn't fulfilling. Apple has deep pockets. Then Netflix, they will be fine in the long run. Yeah, I don't think any of these streaming services are really gonna fail. They're all gonna just keep doing what they're doing. I'm not doubting. Oh, except Quippy. Quippy's gonna suck. Quippy's gonna die fast. Peacock, I don't know. I mean, they do have some popular shows, but I don't know if there's much room in the market for more subscriptions. Do you think Apple will still offer the free year of TV Plus for people who buy the iPhone 12? It's a one time per Apple ID thing. I'm pretty sure they said it's forever though. Pretty much you can redeem it once for your Apple ID and then you're done. So yeah, I think it'll still be available on new iPhones. Like if you haven't redeemed your free year yet and you buy an iPhone 12, yes, you can redeem a year of TV Plus, but it's not like you get another year every time you buy a new iPhone. That's not how it's going to work. So I've redeemed my free year. That's it. I can't redeem another one when the 12 comes out. That was Disney's. Their master plan to buy lots. On a completely random note, how do you get the Apple boxes to stay on your wall? I'm a Jedi. I keep them there by the Force. No, it's just thumbtacks. Apple News Plus is a cultural phenomenon. All I see on Twitter is people talking about the graphics on their National Geographic magazines. Lou is doing stand-up in the chat today. Yeah, I imagine so. I pictured News Plus to be the thing that doesn't sell very well. Do you think Apple will ever make a Design by Apple in California book? God, I hope not. That book was so stupid. Quippy. That service is so stupid. Apple should really shrink the bezels on the MacBooks. Also, the next-gen Magic Keyboard should have a touch bar just like the MacBooks. What? The next-gen Magic... Oh, yeah. We've wanted that ever since the touch bar came out. I've wanted that for 4 years, and they haven't done it. I guess it probably just makes the keyboard too expensive. Apple, the company that sells a Magic Keyboard case for $350, will think the Magic Keyboard for Mac is too expensive. I don't know. I do agree they should shrink the bezels. My guess is that the ARM Mac, they will want to redesign it in some way so that it's substantial, because I don't think Apple would just release a MacBook that looks just like the 12-inch MacBook or looks just like the MacBook Air, but happens to be ARM. I don't think they would do that. My guess is that they would redesign it a little bit and be like, this is what we think the future of MacBooks should look like, and it'll maybe be more rounded or have thinner bezels or something like that. What if they sold shirts with Apple logos just like in the 90s? They do sell shirts, but you just have to go to the campus. I don't think it would do much if they just sold them off their website. IGTV is the greatest streaming service. I heard they started rolling out monetization, but it's still selective. It's not. There's not a application that you can fill out to become a part of it. You kind of just have to get a bunch of views and then hope they contact you. So that's better. I still think it should have launched with that, but I feel like the IGTV train has come and gone. That would have helped if they started with it. Apple Arcade annoys me so much because it takes up where the updates tab used to be. That annoys me too. I'm an Apple sheep, and I hate the way Apple is handling all of their marketing. I got a push notification for TV Plus the other day, and I was like, this is bullcrap. I was like, I know I usually don't say this. I usually hate people that say this, but Steve Jobs would have never been okay with that. Seriously, like, that is some BS right there. When they remove the updates tab so that you can have an arcade tab just dedicated in the App Store, even if you aren't subscribed to it, I'm like, come on, Apple. Seriously? Apple Arcade isn't competing with Xbox and PlayStation. Apple Arcade is trying to be some type of premium mobile gaming service, and the mobile gaming sector makes more than Xbox and PlayStation, I bet, just because it's $1 billion industry. Apple makes so much money off of App Store games, in-app purchases. I just don't think the arcade tab should be there if you're not subscribed to it. What's the point? It's just a dedicated ad button. It's ridiculous. Our MacBook will look like 2 iPad Pros on a hinge. I'm okay if the display looks like an iPad Pro. I still think it'll have a keyboard, but yeah. It annoyed me when Apple added the Watch app to all iPhones, even those who don't buy Apple Watches. That was before they let us delete stock apps. Yeah, that was weird too. I was planning on buying an Apple Watch, so I guess I was more okay with it. But yeah, to the people who weren't, I can understand why that was frustrating. I think it did some kind of a mental trick on a lot of people, because I felt like it was making people feel like, wait, this Apple Watch app is here. Why can't I get rid of it? And it was like, you don't get rid of it. You just get the watch. Instead of removing the Apple Watch app, go out and buy a reason for the Apple Watch app. So it did some kind of subconscious trickery there. Maybe they're trying to do the same thing with Arcade, but it's just not going to work. I can justify the Apple Watch because I think it's awesome, but Apple Arcade, I tried that, been there, done that, sucked, wasn't interesting, don't want it, don't care. So now I'm just like, get that crap out of my face, get rid of it. Yes, now you can delete the Watch app. You couldn't before. When do you think Apple will release their foldable iPad? Never. I don't think there will be a foldable Apple device. What price for Final Cut for iPad and DubDub? The leakers said it would be free if you already owned it, which I think is kind of cool. If not, I imagine it would be like $50 to $100. I don't know, but I'm guessing it wouldn't cost the same as it does on Mac because it would probably be scaled down for the iPad a little bit, but I don't know. Apple's been reasonable in the past with the Pro Apps bundle and stuff like that, so it sounds believable to me that anyone who has Final Cut and Logic can just bring it to the iPad because they already rolled out this program that allows in-app purchases to carry over from iPad to Mac. Like all of your, like if you buy an app on the Mac, you will also own it on iPad and iPhone, that kind of thing. So they already kind of rolled that out. I don't think they would charge again for Final Cut. I could be wrong. They might. Yeah, Mac Pro and Pro displays for the epic Apple Arcade gamers. Nothing like Breath of the Wild ripoffs in 60 hertz. Mini Motorways is fun, but I wouldn't spend $5 a month on it. I watched Dickinson on TV Plus, and in my opinion, it was boring. You've convinced me. I will now never watch the show. Well, thank you for the bits, Neum. How fast do you think the A14 and A14X chips are going to be? I don't know how you say it fast. Really fast! Really, really fast! I don't know. I would say probably a substantial jump. I don't think they will be minor because the A14 chip is rumored to be a 5nm design, and usually when they reduce the footprint of the CPU, it comes along with a big performance boost or something like that. So I'm guessing 20% faster, 20-30% jump over A13. And the A14X will be like a 50% jump over A12Z. It'll be something insane, but I don't think you'll see A14X for a while. You probably won't see that till next year. A14 we'll see this year, but the bigger problem will be like what takes advantage of that? What people are going to utilize the CPU being that fast? The problem with Apple Arcade's success is it's kind of impossible to know how well it's doing. We can do samples and we can poll people, but at the end of the day, it's kind of tough to know like how many people are paying for this because Apple doesn't want to tell us. They'll just have services revenue. So iCloud, Apple Care, Apple Music, Apple Arcade, Apple News, Apple TV Plus, they all kind of bundle into the same category on the earnings reports. So I don't know. Like I don't really have an idea how they're gonna. Apple Arcade could be flocking. Flocking. I don't know what I was trying to say there. It could be flopping. It could be blossoming. It could be doing great. It could be doing terrible, and we just don't know. So I guess we can tell based on how Apple handles it. If they push it more, well, it can kind of go either way. If they advertise it more, maybe it's because it's going well, or if they advertise it more, maybe because it's going bad. So there's no way to really know. It'll be flocking like a bunch of geese. Exactly. Apple Music probably makes the most out of all the services. I agree, probably. I used Arcade for about a week, didn't like any of the games, deleted it, and unsubscribed. I liked a couple of the games, but there weren't enough games to warrant a $5 a month thing. I would be okay with spending $5 on buying Mini Motorways. But it's a fun game that I would pay once for, but I don't want to pay $60 a year for, or $50 a year for a few mobile games. They're nice. They're good games. I mean, if I was an intense mobile gamer, maybe, but I'm not. I really don't play that many games on my phone as it is. Anyway, I got to wrap up. There's no more videos coming out for today. Tech and EV has already been posted, and there shouldn't be any videos for the next couple days. I'm going to take the day off, spend some quality time with my wife, and we'll do the podcasts on Saturday. You won't see them till Monday. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoy it. Please, for the last time, how many people are here? 90 people? Please subscribe to Taylosive Podcasts on YouTube. It's free. It won't cost you anything. And once we reach 1,000 subscribers, you can unsubscribe because we just need it to get monetized, and then I'll never ask you again. That's the only reason. Please check it out. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.